The five of them returned to Emmett's room, and he sat down, getting to work repairing the neck of the android shell. He glanced up every now and again to see the reactions of his landlady and the other residents, explaining what they had seen outside. Then, after a barrage of questions, he stated it would be easier for him to just start at the beginning, to which he met no resistance.
All right. I will break things down as much as I can. It's going to sound like science fiction, but I swear that it's true. And I think you all can afford to give me the benefit of the doubt, given what you've already seen. So here goes. I'm a genetic experiment created by a secretive corporate organization. To the best of my knowledge, the project went bankrupt or was forcibly shut down about 2 years ago, and I, along with the other experiments, was to be contained or disposed of.
He paused as he twisted a cable in the neck of the android shell, looking up at them. So far none had voiced objections, scoffing, or disbelief. Mortimer appeared to be more confused than any of the others, but if what Emmett had researched were indeed true, it was understandable.
I had no name. I was merely test subject number 4. I was created a little over 5 years ago in an underground bunker, and artificially aged to appear to be in my early 20s. With the exception of one assistant, I was treated as if I were an animal merely to be studied. Before he was removed, that assistant gave me my forename. He claims that it was after a very important man called Dr. Emmett Brown. I've since learned through the internet that this was a fictional character from a popular movie trilogy, but I digress.
Emmett held out a hand and electricity sparked from fingertip to fingertip, forming a small sphere. The sphere he proceeded to push into the neck of the android.
While the project was operational, my powers and abilities were tested and developed. I can control electricity up to a certain voltage, and can enter a pure electrical form that allows me to travel short distances quickly and travel along electrical wiring and circuitry. I do, however, need to recharge in order to use my powers after an extended period of time, such as when I traveled here within this android shell. When the project was shut down, I was practically left for dead, but one of the engineers failed to properly secure the enclosure around one of the old light fixtures. There was a small crack in the upper casing, too small for me to pry open, but they had presented me with another way out. They had left me with a box full of batteries to keep myself fed, since I am able to convert the power to calories and last a long time off of a small charge. It's not as enjoyable for my palate, but along with a water faucet, it kept me alive. Whatever their reasons for leaving me the batteries, I found a way to exploit them. After they had left, in a fit of anger I had thrown a battery that I had overcharged against the entrance. It didn't release me, but it still exploded, the shrapnel cutting me and coming dangerously close to killing me. However, the battery acid ran down the wall, and I could see the charge sparking in it. I filled myself up on charge with all but 5 batteries. The last I damaged enough for the acid to leak out onto the wall and into the fixture. And then I proceeded to change into my other form and travel along it.
Emmett leaned against the android shell with his hands atop of each other as he paused. Still they remained silent, waiting. He continued.
I tried to find a way straight out of the bunker, but found that they hadn't been entirely ignorant and had cut all power lines to the bunker itself. I exited the wiring just outside my former prison and attempted to walk its pathways in search of an exit. I had known I was not alone in my captivity, but the material looking into each of the cells was like a one-way mirror. I did not know the fate of the other subjects until I was in the hallway, but sadly my suspicions were confirmed. I had not known how long I was in my cell, but the other subjects had not fared as well as I. Since we were raised separately, I did not know what each subject's abilities were, but apparently they did not aid in their survival, let alone escape. 2 had already died, apparently from dehydration and starvation, but the third was impossible to even identify as having been human at one time. I wandered the halls of that bunker for what seemed like days, searching for an exit, any form of escape. The closest thing I found was an incomplete android shell. A basic operating system had been started, and most of the internal hardware had been properly structured and connected. Along my way to finding it, I saw a sewer access, but it had a grating welded to it. Using my manipulative powers, I directed the shell to tear it off, and I explored the system for a few hours, finally finding an exit that left me in the middle of a large forest above a small town. Knowing that the android would be useful, I returned to my human form and entered the town, and returned with enough clothing to cover up the parts of the android, too inhuman. Luckily, it had a crude facial structure for me to build upon to look more similar to my own, and hence I wandered from town to town, seeking a purpose. Eventually, I found myself here. You are some of the few who have found out my secret, and I would hope that it would stay between just us currently.
Lydia, Tony, and Mortimer looked over at the owner of the manor, Lydia and Tony with mischief in their eyes and a similar sly smile on their faces.
What do you think, Eve? Should we turn him into the authorities? Or keep him and sell pictures to the Inquirer?
Come on, Lydia, you're thinking small. I say we create a website devoted solely to his electric personality. Mortimer told him to hush, silencing him, then turned to Eve, saying it was her decision.
No, it's all of ours. Emmett, your decision to hide your secret was more out of self-preservation than hiding a threat, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I was unsure how someone might react to one of my, unusual characteristics.
He pleasantly clasped her hands together and smiled.
Then I see no harm in your continuing to stay here. After all, as you know, you're not the only one with secrets.
Of course. After my research on Mortimer, I had gleaned a minor bit of them, but I suspect there is more to all of you. Is there not?
In unison, Lydia and Eve said.
Yes.
Emmett bowed and gave his answer.
Then it will be my pleasure to stay and live here with you all.